guys, this is James with RogueDuelist Trade, and on this channel we talk about current and upcoming Yu-Gi-Oh product and whether or not you should invest your money in order to profit. So I've had a lot of you guys ask me in the comment section as to some of my portfolio of cards that I have or will be investing into, and I'm gonna do a special topic today. We are gonna go over my top 5 singles that I invested in during 2020. Now, I think something that you guys will be able to get out of this video is to see some of the reasons why some of these cards that I did invest in actually performed very well. I would say I have not done any type of like huge investments into singles. I'm extremely early on, and if anything, I put my toe in the water. I really haven't gotten that deep into investing in singles. But after doing a thorough review of all of my investments in my current portfolio and singles that I've invested into, I've realized there's a lot of lessons learned from some of these cards that did perform well. So in this video, I'm going to go over 5 cards that I invested in order from good to best. But all right, guys, without further ado, let's get into today's content. So again, starting from good to best, my number 5 card that I invested in during 2020 is INVITATIONAL Fortress Megaclops, and this is actually the original print, which was from the Infinity Chasers. It was a secret rare, and at the time when I invested in this, it was about July 15th, 2020. This was the only printing of INVITATIONAL Megaclops. So when I invested into this card, it was right before Battles of Legend Armageddon, and I realized it had amazing synergy with the Numeron engine, which is something that everybody was very hyped on at the time when Battles of Legend Armageddon was coming out. But also what made it just seem very appealing to me was the fact that it only had 1 printing and it was a secret rare. And it was a secret rare that did not perform that well in value, because this card typically is very hard to get onto the field. And this card is just a very big beater, one, because it's 4,000 attack, and it's basically impossible to get off the field unless you destroy it with an Xyz monster, and not every deck runs Xyz. When I bought it, it was at about $5, and I bought about 15 of them, which was a pretty large investment, costing me about $74. Now, I was waiting for Battles of Legend Armageddon to become closer and closer, and as Battles of Legend Armageddon actually came out, this card suddenly jumped from a $5 card all the way up to a $15 card. And that was when I immediately went and put my inventory up. So I basically sold about 4 at the $15 mark, but man, it wasn't much later that after Battles of Legend Armageddon came out that we got a full leak of what was coming in the 2020 Tins of Lost Memories. Little did I realize that this card came from a core set that actually had possibility of coming in the Tin of Lost Memories. This card started to drop in value very quickly. As soon as I saw that this card was announced in the Tin of Lost Memories, I immediately adjusted the cost, like maybe $1 under market, because I wanted to get rid of them quickly before they completely plummeted. And I ended up putting it, I think, at $8, and then later putting it at about $7.50. And at that time, I sold a quantity of about 7. So I moved about 11 of them. I still had 4 left in inventory that I wasn't able to sell. So at the end of the day, my average selling price for this card was roughly $11. And as of me recording this video right now, the 4 that I currently have, the current value is worth about $3 each. So if you combine the sales of what I was able to sell it for and what the current value is in the marketplace for my current inventory, you could say that my total sales plus inventory after 20% fees is about $102. So overall, I netted about $27, which isn't crazy, but that is about a 26% margin. So you could imagine if I invested in far more than 15 of these, this could have given me a pretty good return. So my number 4 single investment during 2020 is Memories of Lost Hope. So I invested in the super rare from Dark Neostorm, and I bought a quantity of 20 of these, and I was able to snag them again around July 15th, the same time as Megaclops, at about 64 cents each. So my total all-in investment was about $13. And honestly, I was investing in this for the very same reason as Megaclops. The Numeron engine was coming. I bought it before Battles of Legend Armageddon came out, and my reasons for buying it is because it was the only printing of it at the time, and it was a super rare, came out of Dark Neostorm, and it basically says draw 4 if you play the Numeron engine. Now I know it's very gimmicky, but a lot of people were very hyped about this card at the time. But when I wanted to invest in this card on TCGPlayer, it actually was like 30 cents or something a card, but there was nobody that had had it in a large inventory. I didn't want to buy a bunch of onesie twosies from many vendors because then you'd have to pay shipping costs, and it absolutely makes it not effective for you to do it that way. So I started looking at other platforms, and I was able to find 20 of them through Troll and Toad at 64 cents a pop. And I figured that was a good investment because I could not anticipate this card actually going down in value once the Numeron engine came out, because this card now actually becomes playable with Numerons. Now, as Battles of Legend Armageddon came out, this card did not go up in value nearly at the level that I thought it would. Now, I did kind of underestimate the fact that Dark Neostorm was one of the most widely open core sets, and it was a super rare. So there's definitely larger quantities of super rares in the marketplace, especially with Dark Neostorm. But as Battles of Legend Armageddon came out, and when I saw that Memories of Hope went up to $1.14, I just decided to offload them, and I threw them on the TCGPlayer to get rid of them. And I was actually able to sell 19 of them, so I still have about one left. So overall, I made about $18 in sales and what I had left in inventory for Memories of Hope. So I netted about $5 because the current value right now is 15 cents. This actually did get reprinted in Tins of Lost Memory, which completely killed the value because it actually came as an ultra rare as well. So again, I netted about $5, but that did give me a 28% return on my investment. So if I was able to somehow get like 300 of these, it would have been a very good investment, although that would have been a lot of sales that I would need to make. So one lesson learned is it actually is kind of better to buy into more expensive cards, and in some cases higher rarity, that have a ton of potential to go up in value. Those do seem to be the better investments to make because you don't have to sell as many, and they can go up in value quicker in terms of, like, you know, going from a $3 card to like a $7 card, $15 card, etc. So my number 3 single investment during 2020 would have to be Red Eyes Fusion, the common that came out of Legendary Duelist Season 1. So I was highly anticipating this card to actually come in a higher rarity, like maybe an ultra rare, possibly a secret rare in Legendary Duelist Season 1, which it didn't, but I did look at this card's value. It has 2 other commons, and I think they were all about $3.50 at the time. So I bought this around July 1st, 2020, which was immediately after the release. I think I might have bought this like Monday after release weekend. And because I saw that the 2 commons were already performing very well, I think at the time the super rare was between $30 to $40. I knew it was imminent that this card was gonna go up in value as soon as Dragoon came out. So when I saw this card sitting at about 97 cents, I grabbed as many as I could because it only made sense that as soon as Dragoon came out in Tin of Lost Memories that this card was gonna go up in value. And as soon as Tins came out and people started wanting to get their Dragoons, this card immediately jumped in value to about $2.10, which was actually the time that I decided to start offloading them. I think it was probably less than 24 hours that I completely sold out of this card, and I bought a quantity of 15, so I only spent about $15. Now I purposely put 12 up on inventory because selfishly I wanted to hold 3 for myself. So I made a $27 return on my investment, including the 3 that I have left in inventory, because the current value right now is actually higher at $2.79. So maybe I could have held them a little bit longer. So I netted about $12, which means my return on investment was roughly 44%. Lessons learned on this one, I waited too long. I wanted to buy into this sooner, but I kind of kept waiting and waiting because I figured the value might actually go down. And I started seeing that there wasn't that many left in the marketplace, and immediately jumped to like $1.50 or something like that. So I bought as many as I could, but I couldn't buy enough. I definitely would have bought maybe 50 of these if I could have, but there just wasn't enough sellers that had large enough quantities by the time I decided to buy in. So a lesson learned from this one, if you guys know a card could only go up in value because there's going to be some crazy meta and collector level support coming, such as Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, you should definitely invest in it sooner rather than later. I shouldn't have been greedy. I shouldn't have waited to see if the cost would go down even more. I should have jumped on this probably during market release weekend, because even though my cost would have been a little bit higher per card, I would have gotten so much more of this card, and my return probably would have been about 40%, but in larger quantity. So my number 2 single investment that I made during 2020 would have to be Psyframe Gear Gamma, the rare from Toon Chaos, and this was first edition. I was hot on Toon Chaos when this set came out because I did not invest in sealed product for Toon Chaos. I was able to get like a box that I opened up on the channel, but I didn't invest in it soon enough. I just didn't have faith in the product, and I learned a lot because this was one of the best products of 2020. I got this card on June 19th, 2020, and it was maybe like 1 to 2 days after the release of Toon Chaos. It could have been maybe the Monday after. And the reasons why I bought into Gamma, because it's a very format dependent card, and it was just a matter of time that it was gonna shoot up in value just in the right meta format, which I knew was probably gonna be close because it is a monster negate. It brings resources on the field, and in today's meta, monster negation is very relevant because when I did decide to sell this, I was watching the market very closely as soon as we had the remote duel that happened where we actually had Team Samurai who won that thing. And Gamma was one of the top tech cards in the remote duel tournament that Konami ran. And as soon as that happened, this card shot up in value because this card is basically targeted towards all of the casual and budget players that don't want to spend a ton of money. So I bought this card at about 92 cents each, and I bought 46 of these guys. I jumped in pretty early, but the value jumped up to $2.30. So I sold 43 of these guys, and again, selfishly, I held 3 for myself. So I made about $85, including inventory after 20% fees on Cypher Gear Gamma, which netted me about $43, which gave me a 51% return on my investment. Now, currently this card's sitting at about $2, so I'm very happy I was able to offload it as soon as I did. So some lessons learned. I was hesitant because this card was lowest rarity, but as I mentioned, it had a lot of opportunity because there's a lot of casual and budget players that it is targeted for this type of card, and it's a very strong tech card and it's very format dependent. So any cards that are very strong tech cards but might just need the right format, honestly, those are good cards to invest in as long as there's not that many printings of them and the printings that are out there already hold good value. If you get a card like Cypher Gear Gamma coming as a rare, so it starts out very low in value, but you know the other printings have very strong value already, even though there is multiple, those are definitely red flags to say that it might be a good card to invest into. So my number one single investment that I made during 2020 happens to be one of my very first single investments that I made when I first got into investing in Yu-Gi-Oh! I invested into this card all the way back in February 2020, and that card is Dragon Buster Destruction Sword, and this is the common from Breaker of Shadow, and this was one of 2 printings of the card. Both of them were commons. So when I bought into this card, we knew that the OCG was going to be getting Union Carrier, and everybody was already talking about how this was going to be one of the best cards to use with Union Carrier, and I happened to invest in this guy in the right time because I had no idea that Duel Overload might be printing this card, and I bought this like I think maybe a month or so before we knew what was going to be coming in Duel Overload, and I only bought about 10. Again, this was one of my first investments, and it only cost me about $5. I was taking it very slow. It was only about 50 cents each at the time of me buying it. But as soon as Union Carrier was announced, this card shot up to $2.50 as a common. So, you know, the reason why I invested in this card was because I just knew it was a matter of time that we were going to be getting Union Carrier in the TCG. Now, I didn't know it was going to be as soon as 1 month after me buying into this card. So I sold 9 of them. Again, I kept 1 of them to myself selfishly, but with sales and inventory after 20% fees, I made about $19 in value, which netted me about $14, which gave me a 73% return. Now, I was just kicking myself that I did not buy like 100 of these. If I bought 100 of these at $50, I would have made a very good return on investment, at least for a common. So lessons that I learned from this card: you know, cards that are just inherently unfair and could be considered ban worthy if somehow you could immediately get them onto the field, even though their conditions of activation seem hard to do, you have to consider cards like that. And I think if I ever see a card that has like some bonkers effect but seems impossible to actually get onto the field, man, you should just go and invest into those cards while they're dirt cheap, probably like 5 cents a pop. Because if one day there is a card that comes out that makes those cards extremely accessible, then that card is gonna shoot up in value because people are going to wanna run after it, because it could be like 2 years later or something like that when people completely forget the set that some crazy card that's very hard to activate came out. All right guys, so that's gonna end it for this video. I'd like to know what you guys think. This type of topic has been requested of me so many times. And guys, I'm going to admit it, I don't invest a ton in singles, but I am growing in it. I actually have a lot of stuff in my portfolio. I have it in a spreadsheet that I have made some single investments into, so I am growing a lot into investing in singles, but not nearly as much as I'm sure many of you are. So let me know down below, what are some of your top singles that you invested during 2020? Now guys, if you did enjoy this video and if you would like to see me do a top 5 worst singles that I invested in during 2020, if you would like to see that video, go ahead and like this video. That will help the YouTube algorithm and help spread this content so we can help grow this channel together. Also, if you guys enjoy investment content in Yu-Gi-Oh, why don't you guys go ahead right now and subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so you guys don't miss any amazing Yu-Gi-Oh investment content from me. And as for some final points, if you guys are getting into Yu-Gi-Oh investments and want to invest more in Yu-Gi-Oh sealed product and want to do that seriously, then you guys should highly consider the Yu-Gi-Oh Investments Patreon. And again, guys, if you guys would like to see different and amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content from me, you guys should check out my new channel, which is RogueDuelist TV. Go down in the link in the description below and go check out that channel. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell over there. And I have just started doing some Yu-Gi-Oh skits. And again, I started a new series on top Yu-Gi tubers then and now. So go ahead and go subscribe so you guys don't miss any new content from me on that channel. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's content and we'll see you in the next video on Rogue Duelist Trade.